What's up, everybody? Chewy89 coming at you today with another episode of the episode 3 of the Omega Level Threat Podcast. It's me, Chewy89, with Warhawk today. And we got a bit of news before we get into our podcast today, because right now, our podcast, this episode is going to be talking about just our thoughts on the affiliations and what we think about them and all that. But we want to talk about some news that's happening right now. A little bit of an errata has happened to the re-rolling. Specifically for models who have to pay for rerolls. Usually in a normal game, what was happening is that this would get resolved in step 9. So what would happen is that the attacker would roll their dice, the defender would roll their dice, and then from there, crits and all that applied. And then when we got to step 9, I believe that's the modify step. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that modify, Warhawk?
9? Yeah, it's yeah. I'm gonna back you up 2 seconds. 2 seconds. I'm gonna try something new. He's Anthony and I'm Aaron, and we are an Omega level threat.
That's even better. I like it.
But so he busted right into this because he's like, "Did you hear about the reroll change?" I'm like, "No, man, it's my day off. I haven't heard about anything." And so he's like, "Yeah, they're doing this," and it's funny because coming from different games, I'm like, this was sort of a thing other games did, specifically Bushido. They had to break up the steps a little bit more. They had a very generic step line, and I actually rewrote half of that. And then, as new players were getting into the game, I would send out my modified ones so that people didn't get confused. And Marvel had one that was very much broken down already. And now we're sort of seeing a sub breakdown even further, where we've added this step that if you have to pay for an ability, you have to do it before you see the information on the dice, is basically the gist of what this is, right? Anyone that's paying for an ability has to do it in step, respectively, as the attacker in step 6 and as the defender in step 7 before modify, whereas now correct me if I'm wrong, the free ones are in step 9 in the modify step. Thus, your Wakanda, your MODOK, your Shuri have been sort of relegated out of step 9 and into 6 and 7, respectively, so they can't see free information.
Yep. Basically, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So now they have to wait. Now they have to do it so. Going forward, if you're playing against a Wakanda, you're playing against a MODOK, you're playing against anybody that has to pay for these rerolls. In step 6, if they're rolling attack dice, they have to declare right then and there they're paying for the reroll. If not, they cannot do it in step 9.
So now here's a weird thing, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're talking about this, if you're the guy playing this game at the time, because they've subdivided this, right? Mm-hmm. Are we... I mean, I think in most cases where I play, everyone just rolls their dice at the same time. Is this for competitive going to change the way that we roll dice, that the attacker's going to roll first, then see what's going on, then step 7, defender rolls dice, then... Or are we still kind of going to be gentlemen about it?
We're just going to... Honestly, every time I played on TTS, we've kind of both just rolled our dice, and then we don't... for example, I would roll my attack dice, they would roll their defense dice. You know what I'm saying? I didn't roll my attack, then they rolled their defense. It was kind of like a gentleman thing, right? But with that being said, now when we both roll our dice, before anything happens, especially if you're playing against any of these characters, you got to say, hey, listen, are you going to pay for your reroll or not? So once those dice hit the tray, it's like, hey, are you doing it or not?
Well, yes, I agree. Most people are going to go that way, but due to the competitive nature of the TTS league, at least, my question is more so with Bushido, it specifically said you rolled attackers. Well, you have to roll the defense and attack dice at the same time in that game because the defender actually takes their melee skill turns into dice in that game. So you literally can put two of your dice into attack and 2 of your dice in defense, and you do the attack. The person who declared the attacking action is the one that attacks first, and then if you have remaining dice left over as the defender, you can actually put them in attack and swing back. Melee in that game is really, really crazy. So their thing was you roll everything at the same time and all this other stuff, and I'm like, well, technically, if you slow this down, paying for the abilities makes more sense, and that wasn't in the rules until the new edition. So when we've subdivided this for MCP, I think some maybe I'm wrong, but if I'm reading the room, I think most people are going to keep rolling at the same time.
Yeah.
But there might be a couple sticklers that want to do the 6, then the 7 to see the
Oh,
information.
absolutely. They're gonna do that. And
And that was where my question was: is do we feel like that's going to be the trend, or is it going to continue to be what it has been?
yeah, I think
I mean, it was just your thoughts.
Now, I think
think
now. Okay, so I think that the habit that's going to be hard to break is rolling our dice at the same time, right? I think
it's a good.
Yeah, no,
well,
I think what's going to happen is I think going forward, and it's going to be interesting to see like after especially now we're in the top cut, so it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with that now because right now we have 5 Wakanda players on the top, so they're the ones dealing with this, and we have players with MODOK and all this.
I think if I was the league commissioner on that, I would not implement it till next season.
Probably. What I would say is this. What I would implement for now is say, okay, when you guys roll your dice, you have to maybe I think I see what you're saying. Yeah, maybe don't implement this now.
Because you've gotten to top cut with this being the rule. To change it mid-season, I don't think as a player that might have gotten outed by one of these Wakandan teams or like one of this reroll mechanic change, I'd feel a little, and I'm not like a guy that's like, well, that's BS. But to some extent, I think changing a rule that leans that heavy into what some of the top cut has been would, I think, feel better to a lot of players going into the next season because we haven't gotten like a crazy errata to this game that's been this impactful. Up until now. I mean, this is the impactful change that we've seen. So, I'm not Norb, or is it Norb, the commissioner? Yeah, I'm not him, but if I was in his shoes, that would be my first thought is like, okay, let's just change it next season because we've already played 90% of this season. Right. And so, that's why I would hope most people would stick in the boat, roll simultaneously, and just whatever, but maybe that's another one of those changes going into next season where it's a little bit more polite that you can do it now that the rules have changed. But since we've gotten a rules change drop in the middle of the season, like as these higher end players are competing for kind of a bragging rights thing, do you take every advantage or do you continue to do it the way it's been? Or like I don't envy anybody in that position because like I don't either. Because I think in some ways somebody's gonna be like, well, that's a dick move, and in some ways, well, right, and then somebody else is gonna be like, man, he's not taking advantage of that.
And then like there's the other side. The other side to it too is that if this ruling came up, let's say for example, well, the rosters got made before this ruling came out. I wonder what the rosters would have looked like once this ruling came out. Because it's interesting. Because right now we got 5 Wakandas, like I said. So let's just take a look at the top cut right quick. So 5 Wakandas. We have 4 Cabal / So put it like this: we have 2 that are legitimate Cabal. We have another Cabal plus Criminal Syndicate kind of thing here. So
we have 2 of them.
Yeah. So 2 Uncanny X-Men players, 2 Web Warriors, 2 Black Order, 1 Defenders, 1 Brotherhood, 1 Inhumans.
So I mean. What other things does this affect? Web Warriors to some extent, no. Because well, right, they don't pay for rerolls. Defenders don't have, or like we talk about 2 minutes before the podcast, it doesn't affect Strange, so that doesn't matter. Inhumans. So the one that might maybe. No, never mind. I was thinking X-Force. Uncanny X-Men doesn't have rerolls. It's X-Force.
Nope. X-Force. But now that you mention that, so X-Force is not affected by this because they don't pay. So X-Force is a free reroll, so they can modify in step 9. Yeah. So
is Domino a free reroll too?
Domino is step 9. No. I'm sorry. No. Domino is step 6 because. Domino, you have so it's literally set in the card. So once you roll the dice the first time, right, and you have failures because you're resolving crits, you have to do it right then and there. So it'd be step 6. Yeah, you have to do it right then and there. You can't wait till step 9 and say, "Oh, I want to pop."
Okay. So X-Force gets both sides of this.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Yeah,
which is good. Yeah. So I mean, Black Order. Does Black Order care about rerolls?
No.
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 Yeah.
I mean,
Because they have to pay advance for Thanos going murder that fool.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's additional nice, not rerolls. So I think of the things that this hits for your question, right?
Yeah.
For the top cut, right? Yeah, I think of the 5 Wakandans, 2 Cabal, and 2 Cabal plus Criminal Syndicate teams.
Yeah.
You have 9 of the 18, and we're just assuming the Cabals have MODOK. We don't actually know. So if there's a Cabal Syndicate player out there that's like, this is bullcrap, you're calling me out and I don't have MODOK. If you have MODOK, you're on that list. But potentially 9 teams, so half the top 18 cut is affected by this rules change.
Oh,
That's 50%.
Now that you say that, so check it out. MODOK is in nine of the rosters. Out of the
Wait,
MODOK.
is he in the Wakandan ones?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know.
Uh-oh.
I'm assuming. Okay, let's put it like this. Let's rule this out. So Cabal, yeah. I mean, duh, right?
So let's put it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put it this way. At a minimum, assuming the 5 Wakandan players have MODOK and assuming the 4 Cabal Syndicate players have MODOK, a minimum of 50% of the field has been affected by this ruling. So it's safe to say that I think the rosters would have. I think there's some less in the MODOK camp, more in the definitely more in the am I playing Wakanda camp. I don't think MODOK is as hard of a hit for your affiliation.
No, I don't think so. No.
I don't think so either. Like we can sort of dismiss him as like a big thing. I think the key takeaway is I don't think you'd have 5 Wakanda players hitting top. I don't think you'd have as much of the field playing Wakanda. I think this change is targeted at making them a little less safe on information and rerolls.
Yep.
And I think I think this sort of came about as a result of the TTS league. Good job,
Thank
guys.
God,
like
no.
you changed,
Thank God.
like you changed them to be fair. But yeah, the subdivision of those steps actually helps the game grow in a really in a meaningful way without making somebody a little too reliable. So
absolutely. And the other thing is too, like it makes sense. The way this is worded and the way this is going about, like it makes sense, right? Like when I read it, I'm like, yeah. I mean, you should probably once you roll the dice, you should at that point if you're paying, you should okay. At that point, you have to decide: are you doing this or not? The fact that you can sit there, wait, and then get all that information, and then know it was too much. Now
it was a little powerful.
A little powerful, yeah. So this is good. So yeah, no, I mean, by the way, you want to take a guess who the third most taken character is? Because MODOK was fourth.
MODOK was fourth. I'm gonna guess Shuri.
No. It was Ghost Spider. I know. I've been playing a lot of Ghost Spider lately. I got some stuff. She's fun. But yeah.
No, I know she's fun. I played her wrong when I was testing Web Warriors for myself, and I'm like, I was always getting her in trouble instead of keeping her out of trouble and pull somebody out.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I played her in reverse. I wanted her to beat the crap out of people.
I almost pulled off a turn 2 run with Toad, with a combination of Toad and Ghost Spider. It was so close. I was literally one activation away, and Toad died, and I was like, damn it! But I was so close. What I was doing was I would bring up Ghost Spider, do an attack, gain the power, and then run up Toad, pick up the herb, and then whoever attacked Toad, I'd pull him away, and then pull him away closer to Ghost Spider, just to get that free distance, and then go run that thing out there. But he died. That's all right though. But yeah, that's the news. Also, sorry, go ahead. You got anything you want to say on that?
I was gonna say, related to that, I was testing X-Men Blue, and I said I had Toad on my roster last week. I mentioned it. Then, he's still in there. Yeah, it's really funny. I actually field leadered him. I had spare energy on Cyclops, and I field leadered him to get him so far out of engagement range on one of the games. My opponent looked at me and went, "I'm never gonna catch him, am I?" I'm like, "Nope." Just he went field leader, he went double move, and then he went hop.
That's fun. You can't. By the way, I was gonna say this. So you field leader Toad?
Yeah.
You can't.
Oh, can't you?
No. It's an Uncanny X-Men card. Only Uncanny X-Men characters can do that.
No, it's not. No, not to me, my X-Men. It's Cyclops'
Field leader. Jesus.
Field training. Field training. Sorry.
No,
yeah.
no,
No,
I
it's
know.
anyone.
Anyway.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm positive I didn't cheat. Yeah, because it's
Nah,
anyone
you're
can
good.
do that.
Anyone can do that.
No.
Right. So,
Yeah. I was like, I had the extra energy on Cyclops, so literally Toad got field leadered on his off turn to get a little bit out of danger, and then on his turn went move, hop.
Mm-hmm.
And he just ran off with one of the like 3 objectives on the board. I'm like, well, that one's out of play.
Yep, I love Toad for that.
Or no, sorry, he didn't double move. He actually spit on somebody before he yeeted out to give them the incendiary effect.
Right. So the other thing we want to touch upon, and this is the last thing before we get into the episode, right? We got to cover some of this stuff. So right now, we got a picture of a portal, and that looks like we're gonna be getting Dormammu.
I mean, we knew we were getting Dormammu.
Right.
Everyone's like, oh my god, and I'm sitting here like, we kind of knew about him like a year ago.
See, but here's the thing. Here's what gets me, right? So I'm looking at this portal. This is not the model, right?
What? No.
So is this? I'm thinking this is terrain, right? It's like his portal that he comes through, and then we get the model. That's what I'm thinking this is.
Is it? I thought it was just a colored picture. I didn't think it was actually a model.
No, it's not a model. So like, take a look at have you seen the picture yet, or?
Yeah, I've seen the picture.
Yeah, so that's to me that looks like a portal.
It is a portal.
That's what I'm saying,
but
yeah.
I didn't think it was a model.
No,
I thought it was a colored art.
Oh no, I don't know if it is or not. What I'm thinking this is terrain. And then
No, I thought it was just like a. Hold on.
Yeah, you have to take a look at it because to me this looks like this is the terrain piece that's coming with how Thanos came with the throne room. I think this is what's coming with Dormammu is like this portal and the Dormammu fig. You know what I'm saying?
I thought that was an animated. I thought that was a like 2D art. Yeah, no, that's actually a model. Yeah.
Yeah. That looks pretty cool. See how big that thing is?
Yeah, I'm positive that's Dormammu, and yeah, I'm positive he's a big piece.
Oh, he's gonna be the first size 5 model in the game, I think. Right?
I secretly suspect they're gonna do 2 versions of him, one for the raid and one for normal play.
That'd be cool. I'd be down with that. That'd be awesome.
I mean,
my thing is the fact that it's okay. So we know that this price is gonna be about $80, right? It better be something worth. You know what I mean? It better be worth it, right? For $80. So,
have they released anything that hasn't been worth it yet?
No. Well, to me, no.
That's where I was just getting
at.
To
me, no. Well, to me, no. Like,
but the internet right now is like apartment building overpriced, and I'm looking at it going, no, it's not.
No, it's not. It really isn't. Top of that,
it really isn't. If you shop around for plastic terrain for war games,
you might pay like 20. Honestly, you might, because with your get account and your discounts, you might pay about. Like, I could probably find that same building for maybe $40, but again, that's about what, $20 less. Like, for $20, I don't like. That's not really a big difference, right? Like, if we were talking like, if a building was like $15, $20, then I would understand. But I mean, if you pay for a building like this, you're paying $40 or $50. Like
minimum. But I mean, if you look at MDF terrain, like the cut ones.
I've seen those, yeah.
Those are expensive as hell.
They are.
They are.
So I mean, I do.
And
want
they
that
smell like burnt wood.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they dude. I can't stand it. I've tried playing with those things. I'm like, dude, I can't stand that burnt wood smell. I'm sorry.
If you prime that shit, it's fine. Yeah. But as long as it's like open to the air, you've got the smell of burnt pine trees in your nostrils the whole game. And trust me, I have 8 boards of Bushido terrain that's like all MDF terrain. Like, yeah.
All right. Anyway, so that's the news, right? I mean, hot off the presses, Dormammu reroll changes. We talked about the top cut. Now let's get into this actual episode where we're going to talk about just our thoughts.
So, real quick,
go for it. Yeah, what you got?
Before we cut into that, there was some discussion as to if we were getting big models or not or whatever. Like, before they leaked this Dormammu thing. Yeah. I was positive we were getting big models because I'm like, I don't know, that like, why would you even do Dormammu if you're not doing a big model? Yeah. Or a Sentinel, right? And
Sentinel,
so somebody brought up the symbiote pack, and they were like, well, I thought there'd be symbiotes in there, and I'm just sitting there looking at them like, why would you think that?
Yeah.
So the community is real funny about those models right now. Like, they're not sure what to expect, but I mean, if you're a listener and you like the game, just have faith they're gonna do the right thing. I mean, the seasonal stuff like the Infinity Gems and the Symbiote Terrors and stuff like that, like, yeah, you're not getting models in there, but for these ultimate encounters, other than the ones on the website, it's like, expect that you're getting your money's worth. You got Thanos, he was great. They've taken a while to get this one out. Expect that the Sentinel and the Dormammu are going to be great, and just, have faith in AMG for what they're doing. Like, that's,
Dude, and
I mean,
honestly,
I know the Facebook group gets a little salty about that shit, but I'm just going to put it here now. Like, have they let you down yet?
no,
Really?
no, they haven't. No, for me, they haven't. Honestly, like, I mean, everything that's come out, I've loved. Everything that's come out, I like. Yeah, do some of them.
I mean, they've let me down in one regard.
What's that?
Green Goblin.
Well, I mean, one of the coolest looking figs is one of the worst in the game. But
I mean, other than rules things, they have not let me down on product releases or pricing.
They haven't. And the thing is too, they've been consistent, even with everything that's been going on too. They've been releasing shit. Like, and that's the other thing too. Like, granted, they're having their issues this year with releases, but they're getting their stuff out there. So, the longest drought we had right now was what, 2 months?
2 months, right? But I mean, even look at GW. Everyone's screaming about Cursed City or whatever, and GW couldn't have predicted 2 years ago when they set that product up to be released. They couldn't have predicted that people would want that game that much, and people are like blaming COVID and the shortage and the boat getting stuck in the Suez Canal or whatever, and all this. It's like, it's all this stuff, and we're sitting here going like, I mean, on the back end, you got to remember, like, when they plan this stuff, it's like 18 months in advance from inception to release.
Right.
And you got to think of it this way. Dormammu and Sentinel were planned 18 to 24 months ago without a global pandemic. So it's not like this is a reactionary knee-jerk thing. Like, people have been asking for big models for a while. Yeah, no, they know you want big models.
They're building up to it. And a side note so far right now, I've played 2 Ultimate Encounters. I played the Ultron one, which is awesome, and I played just last week the Mutant Masterworks. I went to Cowabunga Comics. I played that thing, dude. I'm telling you that right now, that Ultimate Encounter is so fun. Like, it is so well thought out. So the whole point of that Ultimate Encounter is for Magneto to get the nuke to the end of the board, literally from one end to the other board, and you have to.
So it's push the payload.
Yes. And the only way to stop it is to stop Magneto, because he doesn't have a KO side. You have to.
No, it's just daze him 3 times. Yeah, I know. I saw it.
Dude, it's so fun, dude. It was so fun, and I'm like, it's well thought out stuff, dude. Honestly, AMG, please get your stuff on your website. Like, I understand you're trying to push product, like that rule book, just the rule book. All I'm asking for is the rule book. Just get the rule book online. Like, because the fact is that the box only came with 1 rule book. If I were to split that with 8 people, granted there's 8 cards in there, but if I were to split that with 8 people and they don't have the rules, how do they know to set things up? So at least get that on the website and get that.
I mean, I guess I have a question for you. If they were to re-release it as a product, do you think people would buy it?
What the?
Just the Magneto encounter. Do you think they would purchase it for maybe $10-15 at their store?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. I mean, but I mean, I realize it's a free product the stores order right now, but I think there's something to be said about stuff like that. I don't know. I'm a collector, man. Like
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. Like, just all I care about is, like, okay, the rule book, because it has where you place your tokens. Like, just get that on the website so we all.
I mean, when I did the Infinity Gem event, you know what I did? I made everyone else punch out their tokens. Mine's still pristine.
Right. I lost my thing is I lost my rulebook for the Thanos Ultimate Encounter, so I don't know what to do with that. So, like, I have to go on the internet and find it somewhere. So,
I mean, I've got mine still.
I lost it. I don't know what I did with it.
I mean, when I actually play Black Order, I thought about buying a second Thanos because I really hate that I have to pick his pose.
me, I stuck with Infinity Gems. That's Thanos, and that's it. I just stuck with it. It's kind of like with Deadpool, right? Everybody's like, I don't know what to do with the heads, dude. Deadpool, hard eyes. It's that simple. For me, it's really that simple. There's no other better head. Like, granted, he has the wink one or whatever, dude. It's the hard eyes. That's where it's at. Put him on the full.
I haven't bought him yet.
Oh man,
that's the first AMG product I've skipped, and just because I had other stuff to pick up. But I'm waiting on it.
That's all good. No worries. Anyway, so off that Dormammu's come whatever. All right, so let's talk about affiliations, man. We're gonna go in alphabetical order. We're just gonna give our thoughts on certain affiliations. We're just gonna go down the list and just whatever. We might not get to all these today. Right now we're about 25 minutes in, so I have to cut it like around an hour-ish. So let's go ahead. Let's just go through it. So let's talk A-Force. Okay, A-Force is led by She-Hulk, the better version of Hulk.
The tank version of Hulk.
The tank version of Hulk. I say the better version of Hulk. Granted, tank version, yes. Really nice affiliation when it first came out. Made a really big splash. I saw a lot of people playing it. They were doing some work. Since then, it's kind of fallen off because people have kind of figured out, you get rid of She-Hulk, which, again, She-Hulk is just like Hulk. She doesn't have an injured side, right? So you do the 20 damage to her, she's gone, basically. Yes, you can bring her back with field dressing. Yes, you can heal her. But once she's gone, you lose the leadership. And from there, your team just kind of falls apart. But they have the most models on the team. All women, of course, because it's the A-Force. Really good models in here. I don't know. Tell me what you think, man. That's all I got on A-Force.
I mean, I think everyone when this came out was like, hey, it's a legal version of drop-off.
Yeah.
Which is basically what people were using it for.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the competitive side, when it made a splash, that was exactly what people were like, hey, I've got an affiliation with like a new leader, and it's Hulk. And I think it's funny because Hulk works better in this affiliation than I think he works in Avengers. Because you can fuel him without him eating a bunch of damage. Right. Yeah, without eating a bunch of damage. It's a big investment to throw She-Hulk and Hulk in there, but, I mean, it's an option if you're at a... Well, I mean, if you're at a 20-point game, you can have that discussion with yourself. Right. I think it's a great leadership ability, but I think once people sort of solved the problem of how to handle the leadership ability or the affiliation ability, which is just remove it from the table, then your roster is just kind of like, here's your roster.
Here's your roster.
Have a cupcake. Right. I think there's sort of a weird duality between, do you want She-Hulk taking damage for other people, or do you want her to stay in play to keep your leadership alive? And I think if A-Force players had stuck with the affiliation, now this is not a competitive like hot take, they're like go do this thing, you'll win. This is more like I think if the counter to A-Force was just to eliminate She-Hulk, right? Then the counter to the counter is to don't treat, I know this sounds counterintuitive to what the faction does or what She-Hulk does, but don't take damage with She-Hulk that is unnecessary.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think if you want to keep this team doing well, she has to really pick and choose who she's protecting and when, and if she's doing it at all. Yep. And I think the answer to that is like, do it sparingly. She's going to die over the course of the game. Now, if you're running both Hulk and her, and they want to focus Hulk,
that's fine.
I mean, you sort of have a choice, right? Like, let them do it, or siphon some of the damage off to She-Hulk, or even splitting fire. Like, as long as you make them split their fire, that's 40 health. They got to whittle through 2 green gamma-radiated cousins, Like, there's ways that I think the A-Force players can adapt this into the meta that countered them and still kind of finagle around, like, everyone's... Like, if everyone sees A-Force on the table, they're like, well, I'm just going to kill She-Hulk. True, but if I don't give you the opportunity, your plan... I'm not saying it's fallen out, like, completely out of there, but if I'm not offering you She-Hulk and I'm not getting her in there, you've got less options. I mean,
Yeah,
she's not doing
absolutely.
as much.
No.
She's not doing as much, but your affiliation's going to stay in play, and depending on who you
Yeah.
bring, that may or not. I mean,
Yeah.
it's something to think about. I don't know if that's like oh my gosh, this is going to break the meta, but I think as a casual player, if you want to try out A-Force and like you're
Oh,
running
they're
into a
fun.
brick wall,
Yeah.
then okay, sure, here's a
Yeah.
solution.
Absolutely. No, they're fun. The other thing about it too is, I mean, the affiliation has some of the best models in the game too. I mean, Scarlet Witch, Valkyrie, Shuri, um, Medusa,
Well, you sort of have your pick
Angela.
of
You know,
any woman in
any
the
woman.
roster.
Yeah, pretty much. Outside of Sin and Viper, right? Because they're not.
Outside of Sin, Viper, and
Proxima,
you know,
right? The people, the famous people.
Hella is not in there.
Hella's not in there.
Enchantress.
Enchantress not in there, right?
It's only good guys. Yeah.
Right, exactly, right. So
So I mean,
yeah, I mean that's A-Force in a nutshell. I mean it's one of those affiliations I like. I did like I enjoyed playing against and playing with. It was fun. You know, I like honestly like for me She-Hulk. When I was playing with her a little, I only played her twice, right? So me, I played her in an X-Men affiliation, like led by Storm, and basically I just had her do what Okoye does, basically, and was just bodyguard a character and figure it out from there, right?
was that an expensive? I mean,
No, because if you run Storm at 3, you go She-Hulk at 6. That's 9.
okay.
So like from there, like it depends, right? It depends on a threat, right? So I mean, at 18 threat, I got 9 points left, right? So granted, when it gets to like 15, it's like, ugh. I can't do that, right? I'd rather play Okoye because it's 4 less points.
Right.
And I'm thinking in like in a more expensive game, I would do that because I have that flexibility, right?
So here's a silly question, right?
Yeah.
Can we then buy that? So the thing that I'll bring this up later.
Yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. You're good.
I was gonna say this situation is on a different affiliation. I will wait.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so let's get to Asgard because we're going in alphabetical order. Thor, Angela, Enchantress, Hela, Loki, Valkyrie. Right, it's a short affiliation. I mean, they got the important models out, right? The what makes up Asgard, what we know. The only oddball here was Angela because I had no idea who Angela was when I first saw this card. I was like, "Who in the world is Angela?" And
well, that's a funny thing.
Like,
yeah, she came over from Vertigo Comics
yeah,
with Neil Gaiman and that whole lawsuit thing. And she was originally a Spawn character.
Yeah, that's what I was like, what? And I was like, okay, whatever. I was like, sure. I was like, I'll go with this. And then I saw her fig. Like, let's not even talk about the card, right? Let's just look at the fig. Like, her fig is amazing. Like, it's a beautiful fig. She looks like this just goddess. This with a giant sword just waiting to whoop your butt, right? Like, she's an amazing looking fig. And, I mean, out of all this, I don't have a fig that I hate. Like, from the Asgard point, like, we're just talking about physics. Like, they all look great. Thor, I think they got his pose right. Enchantress is cool with how she looks with her, her standing and all that.
I think it's funny that Valkyrie is the most plain Jane looking one of the 6 of them.
She really is. She really is. But yeah, I mean Loki looks great. I mean all good looking figs, great affiliation. They were. I played them a lot when this game first came out.
I was gonna say, so we're talking competitive and casual for Asgard usage. When the game was, I'm not gonna say its infancy because the infancy would be the core set, but I would say in its early days this affiliation was kind of like everything you wanted out of the scenarios you had, and it was really powerful. And I think as the game's developed, like the hype. It still is, but the hype behind it has died down a little bit. I shouldn't say that. Sorry, I'm gonna restate that. Angela and Enchantress coming out brought this back into the fold. I think without them, Asgard had fallen out, and with them being introduced, brought some tricks that I wouldn't say they desperately needed, but it definitely made that roster a little bit more palpable.
Yeah, it did. Absolutely. And then back in the day, you got to remember too, so like you were only taking Thor, Hela, Loki, Valkyrie, right? So you had an affiliation of four really good models, by the way. Hela was
But
one of
but
those.
typically when you brought Asgard in your 10 though, you had a primary faction and then you could swap on
You
to
could.
Asgard for when you saw your objectives flip up and you're like, I want to brawl, you could hot swap over to Asgard. That's what I did.
Yep. No,
Yeah.
that's what I did. No, that's what I did. I mean, I was playing Asgard Cabal, and I played Asgard. Well, I played Cabal. It's funny. I played Cabal one game, lost, and then from there I played Asgard the rest of the way, and I started winning. But
I I did the exact opposite. I think I played Asgard and then like I switched to Avengers.
you
It
did, and you were
just
doing well.
included
You were doing well.
it just it just included Thor and Valkyrie sometimes when I needed a beat stick.
Right, absolutely, and they were great. They're still great beat sticks. The thing about Asgard now is that okay, one, they fall into we're gonna get into other affiliations too. They're expensive, right? So Thor is 5, Angela is 5, Enchantress is 4. Granted, these are all great fixes, especially Enchantress. Enchantress is like talked about. She's definitely S tier, right? But is she the best model in the game? No, but she's in talks right now with like top 5-ish models in the game. Just with everything she could do, with the bowing that she could do, with stealing the objectives, that and all that crazy nonsense that she does. It's just their points are just high, right? They're very very expensive.
I think part of that is a tax on being Asgardian. When the
Yeah.
game was kind of first developed, the thing that made an Asgardian, if you look at the core set and you look at some of the Asgardian models, so pre Enchantress, pre Angela, you look at their stats, they uh, characteristically across the board generate one more energy than your standard model, and all of them also hit for one more across the board than your standard model at the time that they were, before Angela and Enchantress. Obviously, those models kind of shook things up a little bit, but your standard other 4, pretty much you were paying for extra dice on most of their attacks. You were paying for bringing the extra energy per turn. They were very consistent.
Very consistent.
There was an action economy that sort of came with them. And what sort of fell off about them is that action economy has kind of been taken away by the control pieces in the game that we have now that can push them around and force them to spend actions on movements rather than spend actions on brawling really hard, which is what they did really well when they were prevalent in the meta.
Correct. So, yeah, I mean, the other thing, I mean, they did get some new additions, like tactics cards wise. I mean, Odin's Blessing, amazing, right? That's standard. The new one they got was Rainbow Bridge, which right now, I mean, if you're playing Asgard, you're taking that card just for that fact. The control pieces that are moving you around. I think you spend what is it, 1 power or a couple, like 2 or 3 power. I don't remember what the power cost of it was, but basically, whoever spends for that and they're Asgardian, they can move themselves within 3. So now that can get them back into the game after all the movement shenanigans and all that nonsense that's happening. But yeah, I mean, yeah, they're just hurt by that, I think. But I think they'll be back. They'll have their heyday again. I think.
I'll give them Heimdall or Sif or the Asgardian trio. I mean, you could turn this into a 10-man faction if you really wanted to. But I think the Asgardian trio would be a good addition because technically, I don't think they'd get the Asgardian rule. I mean, they're Asgardian, but I don't think they'd get the. Yeah, I don't think they'd get the extra energy. Maybe I'm crazy.
No, I think they will. I think that's just the thing with Asgard. Like, hey, you get the extra power. That's fine.
That's the weird thing.
Another guy I want.
Isn't that sort of the weird thing about Asgardian citizens in the comics? Is like you have your god tier characters, and then the Asgardian citizens are so far beneath. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. No, you're right about that. But what they could do is to Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah, but I
can't wait to see that model. By the way, if that's in the oven at Time Mass Games, just give me a little tease. All right.
I mean, I don't have a problem with Beta Ray Bill. I just I don't know how they would handle the Asgardian trio because I don't think they're on the level of like
Yeah, I get what you're saying. All
right, I don't know. Whatever.
So that's Asgard. Again, near and dear to my heart. I do love playing them every now and then, but they'll have their day again. All right, the Avengers. Now, I said earlier on that A-Force has the most. I lied. And I could still be lying here because I'm not really counting. I'm just looking at it. And I'm like, looking at all these models.
I think Avengers has more.
I think they have the most. Cabal. Dude, Cabal has a lot right now, but not as much as the Avengers, though, right? So right now, let's just do a count here, and this is without War Machine and the other Captain America that's coming in, which is Sam Wilson. So this is -2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So we're at 21, and I could be wrong there because I counted pretty fast, but we had 21 models. This is probably
A-Force had 16, by the way.
16.
If you were wondering.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 16. Okay. So right now, 21 models for the Avengers, which is expected. There's a ton of Avengers that came, right? So this is not.
Cabal has 18.
Cabal has 18, and we'll have more.
And we'll have what 21 or 23 if you count Sam and War Machine. So
yeah, Sam and War Machine. Yeah. So this is a deep roster. Captain America obviously is leading it. Sam Wilson's going to be leading this too. He's the other Captain America. Again, deep roster, decent tactics cards. Captain America is one hell of a tank once you get him going, especially on his injured side. Blanks count as successes, and he can juice his dice. And his affiliation is it's -1 for superpowers. So, characters will just get better with just the power, spending less power to do certain things, right? Like you think about a Thor who's a 3 for his charge, that turns to 2 on turn 1, which is good. That gets him in the game fast. On top of that, any other non-affiliated models that want to come into the Avengers, same thing. They can do that. I've only played it a handful of times, and it is what it is. I like them. I think they're slept on. I think they're behind the curve because I think Cap just needs an adjustment. Like I'm talking about Steve Rogers. But outside of that, I mean, I think it's a solid affiliation. I think
he'd be good. I think he'd be good. Too good at 3 points though.
Oh no! I mean, if you make him at 3, I mean, look how deep you can swarm. Basically, okay. So right now, Sam Wilson's 3. But the way you play Sam, I think, is a swarm style. Like, you can field so many models with him, right? I think if you went Steve at 3, there would be so... You could swarm with that leadership, and that would just be nuts. Right? That would just be nuts.
I think it's fair to call Captain America a 3-point model with a 1-point affiliation.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I mean, I will continue to say that. That's a hill I'm willing to die on.
Yeah, I think that's how people feel. I think the only thing personally, like Cap's biggest problem to me, in my opinion, is one. Like I said, I think the people that play him, what I've seen, they do certain. I just don't like the way they play him. They try to get power with him later on. It's like that's not his deal. His deal is he needs to sit behind models. He's the bodyguard. Okay, he's the Okoye. He's the expensive Okoye. Okoye is 2 points less. He's 2 points more. So he's the Okoye. He needs to sit behind models and he needs to take the hits, right? When I start seeing players move forward with him and they're like, I need this. It's like, no, dude, no. Where Cap's it's supposed to excel is take those hits, build up that power, and constantly like save the other models so they can do what they need to do, right? Now, granted, late in the game, there could be a scramble and then you have no other choice but to play Cap and try to get some power. But when you try to go out there and, brawl, nah, that's not Cap's deal.
Cap's not a brawler. No, I would agree with that.
And people do that. I'm like, please stop.
There's better ways. So your roster is so deep. There is no need. Well, so the main thing is, right, you do not need to go out of your way to like smack somebody with the shield and knock them off a point with Cap. Like that is not Captain America's job.
It's not. That's not his job. It's really
Captain America, go back and watch the movies. Have you ever seen? Well, I mean, I guess that's a poor example.
I mean,
yeah, but like,
he's not okay. He's not Thor, dude. Like, he's not the powerhouse. He's not even Wolverine. Okay, Wolverine to me is like a guy who's gonna go in and kill you. Cap to me is more strategic. Cap is more level-headed.
I think the best example of how to play Captain. caveat Steve Rogers Captain America
Yeah.
in this game. Go back and watch the original Avengers movie.
Yeah, just watch what he's doing. Yeah.
Just watch what he's doing. He is saving civilians. He is doing objectives.
Right.
He's like catching grenades on his shield and getting knocked out of buildings from people. Like
Right.
he is not. He is not going in there.
No, he's not.
He's not,
No, he's not
like this.
Sentry. Yeah,
Gotta remember. This is before the Russo brothers took over and they made him into a powerhouse. Like look at what he was doing in the original Avengers movie versus
Right.
what he did in Winter Soldier. In Winter Soldier, he effed everyone's day up and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
That's not what he does in this game.
No, that's not what he does in this game. And the thing is, okay, like real talk, like in the comic, like if you know Steve Rogers, yes, he can. Like he's one of this hand to hand. He's pretty good. Like he's really good. I mean, is he better than like Iron? No, right? But I mean, he can go with them hand to hand.
I mean, every
but
time
it's
I've
not-
seen Steve in a comic, he's gotten his ass beat.
Well, if you I know someone's gonna hate this if they listen to it, but if you reread AVX and he fought Gambit.
I didn't actually read AVX. I went through some life changing stuff.
No,
like,
it's all good. Listen, I'll do you a favor. The next time you see me, I will get you that book where it's the fight books. Because what they did was they did a 12 issue.
I know what they did. We
Yeah.
just stopped going to the comic book store. Me and my
Ah.
ex-wife, we were going through some stuff and
Yeah.
eventually got divorced. But like at the time, I was collecting AVX. Was like right when we started separating. So I was like, oh.
But no, he
whoops.
beat Gambit's ass. Let's just put it like this. Like Gambit had a cool moment, and then Cap beat his ass. But the point is,
Yeah.
like,
Well, I mean, if you go back to Civil War, like even Spidey drew blood on Cap. It was
Yeah.
kind of disappointing.
yeah. And,
And then
like,
Death of
Jeez.
Captain America arc, like what was it? Red Skull put on like Iron Man armor and beat him so bad he had broken ribs and was coughing up blood and stuff. And I'm just
Right.
like, Jesus! Like, I've never seen Cap take a beating this bad, but okay, I guess it's Red Skull. That's a
Right.
thing.
Right, and they have really good. Again, like this team has really good models in here. I mean, Vision still amazing, still good.
Still amazing.
Thor
Yeah.
is still good. Iron Fist, people are sleeping on him. I'm telling you, Iron Fist, he's never out of the game. He's really good. I played with him.
Cable ended up on the Avengers. I didn't know that.
Cable's
Oops.
on the Avenger. Cable, there you. Hey, you want your defense dice? There you go. Cable.
You want your
You want your
defense,
defense
dice?
dice? There you go. You got Cable. Look how deep the. This is what angers me when I hear people talk about Cap. And listen, play him. Just, I understand your frustration. What I would do for Cap, seriously, I wouldn't even lower his point cost. I would change his, because his problem is power, right? Granted, he can one power cost bodyguard, every turn, right? One time. But
I think that's what he's supposed to do.
No, that's what he's supposed to do. But the thing is, like, okay, he doesn't really gain power. So okay, what you do is what you did for Sam, which is the shield throw. Shield throw generates you just one power, right? It's not per damage though. It just generates you one power. Like that's what Cap needs. If they did that to Cap, he'd be fine. Because then he could just chuck the shield.
Would
and
he
not
be
care.
too good?
No. I mean,
I think he would make too much of an impact offensively and
he would,
defensively.
but, for sure. But I mean, remember that the shield throw's only 4 dice. So I mean, you're basically just throwing it out there to get the one power, and you need to get the ricochet, right? So
I mean,
no, I get what you're saying. Like maybe that's too much, but I mean, just give it a shot. Like somebody play test that and just tell me what you think. Like somebody out there, somebody on the planet, just do it. Just.
I mean, if you want, we can test it.
Let's
I mean,
just do it. I'll test it. I'll do it.
Put it on a wild, like put it on a wild. He gets energy off the shield throw,
or whatever. We'll do something like that and see how it happens. We'll test it and we'll give it to Tom Mass Games and we'll figure it out. All right. So here's
and they will ignore us.
Oh, they'll ignore me. They don't care. They don't ignore me. Whatever. That's fine. At least I tried, right? But yeah. So this roster deep, really good.
I mean, I still send Pagani a thing like once every 2 to 3 months. I'm ready to design Namor and Nova now, and he just chuckles.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Namor. All right, so this will be. Unfortunately, I had to cut this short today. So next episode, we're gonna finish the rest of these affiliations. Unfortunately, I gotta go here in a little bit. So we'll stop at Black Order. We'll talk Black Order, and then we'll continue next week with the Brotherhood, right? So
Black Order is pretty pretty small roster there. I'm not worried about getting too deep in discussion about all the stuff
No,
you
we can
can do.
probably go to Brotherhood after this. Let's go to You know what? Let's just talk Black Order for a bit and go Brotherhood. Let's do that. All right. So
Brotherhood
yeah,
or Black Order. Sorry,
Black
Black
Order.
Order.
Thanos.
This
Go ahead.
this
Yeah.
affiliation is 2 to 3 models of your roster.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
That's
all
it.
you bring.
That's it. And you bring Infinity Gems. Thanos is the ultimate tank. He's -1 damage on everything. He can take 2 Infinity Gems. Basically, it makes him, a 6 to 8 threat, or possibly a 10. I have to do some math, but like 6 to 8 threat. Look, no, I'm sorry, he's already 6. He'll jump to like 8 or 10 threat or something like that with the gems that you add on to him. And on top of that, he does not have to pay the power cost for the gem abilities, so keep that in mind. So he keeps the power that he gains from the Infinity Gems and can use them for free. So,
from a casual and competitive standpoint, well, I guess in a competitive standpoint, we've seen people use Black Order just fine. I mean, to great effect or whatever. My only, I guess it's kind of a weird nitpicky thing. My only gripe about this affiliation is like Thanos on the front side has the thing where if you kill somebody, you get extra VPs, and on the back side, he's got a thing where you can murder harder.
Yep.
And I know like Morgan Reed and a couple of these other guys are playing this faction to great effect, but from a design perspective, I'm just like one doesn't feed into the other. And I think part of that, as I've played the game more, I like used to get like really like, why is this backwards? This must be a misprint or whatever. No, I think what it is your game plan switches from getting extra VPs on killing stuff to tabling them, and that's what I think Morgan and some of those other guys have like actually leaned into is they're not too worried about Thanos flipping. I get he's a good tank, but if he like, my problem is when I've only played them like once or twice, not once at most.
I've only played twice, so.
And I was so worried about like keeping Thanos out of the fight and like keeping that front side for the VP, and this is one of the factions I have to go back and play and see how they work, but
honestly,
I think that was my big thing.
That was my big problem too when I was playing with Thanos. I kept thinking, okay, I need to. You really don't like.
No, your big problem was that you got Modoc'd and Punished.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was like, oh, because I had this whole game plan with like the Punisher and Thanos gaining all these extra fucking victory points, and it didn't happen. And I was like, oh, great.
So, for the listeners out there, I think one of the games he played with Black Order was into me, and Modoc like to be.
Well, remember, Thanos almost killed him, one-shotted him for some reason on the first attack, and then from there everything just whiffed, and then MODOK just murdered my entire team, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, but also at that same point you positioned with 2 people next to each other, so I just did like a double chair.
Yeah,
everything went downhill.
Everything went downhill. I played it so bad, and I was like, okay, God, whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing about the Black Order is too, they're very expensive, right? So you're not taking that many models. They're very, very expensive. So yes, if you play them and if you understand how to play them, you can really do some hurt to your opponent. But
this is the faction that closely resembles kind of not closely, but Legion of Everblight, like the best Legion of Everblight player in War Machine was just like, what action do I need to do with this model at this moment to do the most damage? Black Order is all about that action economy. What can you do to get the most out of each model as it's activating in the situation it's in? If you have ADHD and all you want to do is punch the nearest fool in the dick and see what happens, that's not a bad game plan with these guys. Like that really can work.
It can be. Because
it can bite you in the ass later, but if you do enough damage, it won't.
Oh, it won't. And you have to depend on dice, right? So
I mean, a little bit, but Morgan Reed plays it a little differently, where he's like mathing out that action economy throughout the course of the game, and it's a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more deliberate. I think if you just want to get into a faction and punch people as hard as possible and see if you can do enough damage to eliminate them from the table and make it a victory, okay, Black Order is a good start, and then as you play them, you can get into the nuances of the action economy to make it the most efficient thing for you.
And that's where I think the Black Order is a little bit of a high learning curve, right? It's not.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm not saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, on the competitive level, if you want to get into the nuances of action economy, great. If you, as a casual player, you just want to take Thanos and a bunch of gems and punch people in the dick,
Go for it.
I mean, there's your faction right there.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
don't let Anthony tell you not to do it. Do it.
Yeah, no, do it. No, absolutely do it, and do it, and you'll have a blast. I mean,
You will,
you'll have a blast.
as long as you don't roll like terrible dice after the first attack.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Brotherhood.
Brotherhood.
Real quick, or do you want to call it?
No, let's do it. We'll do Brotherhood. And
Okay.
We'll call it, and then we'll
Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Brotherhood is all of 6 existing models currently, although we do know that Juggernaut is coming. We have no idea when. If I had to guess, not this year.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Which makes
I don't think so. But, expect it early next year. That's fine. You know what I think? I think they're waiting to, like, kind of like with the Thor thing, they're waiting to bring you back into the fold with this release that really shores up some of their weaknesses. And right now their weaknesses, like, Magneto can protect himself, fine, whatever. So let's just get into this. They are one of the 2 factions with 2 affiliation leaders. Magneto is the energy generation from terrain destruction, and he, for lack of a better term, pops out constructs that give him energy every turn. Mystique, on the other hand, has objective interaction, right?
Yeah, basically, if you
I don't remember.
If you interact with an objective, you gain a power. So you spend a power, right, and you gain a power back. And then what you can also do is you can place a token on an objective, and that is your objective. So
that's right. She's got the thing where she can do the bombs as her Of these 2, I know the community likes Magneto more as the affiliation leader. It feels more powerful. Yep. I'm the guy that, truth be told, like, if I had to pick one faction to play for the rest of my life competitively, I'd probably play a Criminal Syndicate just because, like, that's...
Oh, yeah.
My thing is definitely holding objectives, and that's where I want to be at. I'd probably play Mystique, even though I know she's less fun than Magneto. Magneto is kind of a tall ask.
I've tried the Mystique leadership. I don't mind it. I mean, it's interesting. I think, like I said, this is one of those things. I think once this affiliation gets fleshed out a little bit more, because right now, the identity, it feels like it's leaning more towards Magneto and the killing, right? I don't feel like the Brotherhood right now want to play Mystique's game. If that makes sense.
I don't think so either, but I think so where I'm sort of drawing a difference is, like, I think you're better off on a roster side of 10 things. I think now that we have Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, I think Mystique can get to cheaper objective takers that work in her favor than when this was released.
Yeah.
I think you can take Magneto out of the fold and bring in Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver and have a little bit different game plan with Toad and Sabretooth, or whatever your 10 ends up looking like. Understand that, like, Magneto being a centerpiece is more of a Magneto's game. I think you have a different roster to build with Mystique. Not that you can't include Magneto and swap to that, in the course of a tournament, but I think Mystique brings a very different thing to the table, and I'd rather plan around that than plan around, like...
Yeah,
Magneto's 6 freaking threat! He's amazing, he does what he does, but... and don't get me wrong, it's not like I like Mystique as a model. I think she's actually kind of underwhelming, but her game plan for taking objectives, ultimately, you win on victory points.
Yeah, you win on victory points, or your bottles die, right? Which, in this game is... it rarely happens. It does happen, but the chances of it happening are kind of...
It's a little less likely.
Less likely to happen. But my thing is, like, when I play this team, and listen, Magneto, that's my boy. I love Magneto. He's, hands down, my favorite character ever. Like, bar none. Just, out of all the Marvel characters, there's a bunch of cool ones. Magneto's my boy. Okay, Magneto's the guy. All right? It's a tie between him and Venom. Like, those have always been my 2 favorite characters ever. I prefer Magneto just because of that. Just because I'm a fan, and the fact that I can... Well, it's funny. Like, kind of my style's a little brawly, but sometimes not. Like, with Magneto, like, I can just go in and throw stuff and kill people and just ruin your day.
I think there's a very different of, like, your 6 crises look different with Mystique. I think
agree.
your 10-man roster looks different with Mystique. I know the community likes playing Magneto as a Brotherhood list more, and even if you look at it, like nobody with a wait, did we see Brotherhood hit the top? Hold on.
Well, we got one. We have one. Well,
Yeah,
we have one.
one.
Granted, like before we got to the top cut, I believe there was a lot of Brotherhood players. It dropped significantly. We have one Brotherhood player in the top cut right now. So,
I think the weakest thing about that faction is without Magneto, their cards suck.
Yeah, I mean, well, think about it. I mean, they do have some pretty good cards. I mean, Asteroid M is really good, right, for the placement. You can get Magneto in the game faster. You have the Books of Truth, which I don't see that played enough. I mean, that's basically it's not recalibration matrix, but it is for the Brotherhood, if that makes sense. So you got your rerolls there. And the other one is Magnetic Refraction, which, if you play the Brotherhood affiliation, right, you can give cover to other characters within 3 of Magneto. So, and
yeah, but you require Magneto.
Right? Yeah, that's the thing. If they focus Magneto, but here's the thing though. One thing about Magneto, and it's funny, if you focus him, like he's still pretty hard to take down. Even if you put your entire focus into him, dude, it's still a goddamn struggle. You can do it, right? You can do it. It's not like Doctor Strange that we talked about earlier, right? Because Doctor Strange has those rerolls. It's not like with him, it's like, you know, you're always rolling 6 defense dice. He always has the power to do it. And from there, you got to hope for the best.
Yeah, I guess the other kind of caveat here is I don't know how much people were looking at Quicksilver Scarlet Witch as being Brotherhood tie-ons as opposed to just being everywhere. Because I mean, they're in I think they're in Avengers too, right?
Well, I mean, Scarlet Witch is in Defenders as well. I mean, you know,
they're not Defenders. Sorry, I meant Avengers. They're in Avengers. Yeah. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think this, I think this needs to get fleshed out more. Like, I think, they're don't get me wrong, really good affiliation, right? They can still do a lot of damage. They can still wipe you off the board if you don't know what you're doing. Magneto is hella fun. You can just throw stuff for days. And I mean,
I honestly think, I think that's part of the problem is like Magneto is so goddamn fun and Mystique is kind of, I mean, she does Mystique things, but she's very, but she's very plain Jane by compare.
She's playing, yeah, absolutely. I mean, she has some cool stuff with the reactive superpowers and like rerolls and all that stuff. But like outside of that, and she could blow stuff up.
The most, but the most effective use of Mystique I've ever gotten out of is pairing her with Punisher, where you just make them suck it for every time they walk near something.
Hey, blow up! You want to? Yeah. Like
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. I just hate that I hate that blowing up thing is an action. It really. I'm like, that doesn't need to be an action. That should be something that should be something that afterwards that should be, whatever.
I have a silly question. Is there a character that blows up terrain where it's not an action? I mean, the 3 that I'm thinking of are Mystique, Green Goblin, and Punisher.
Green Goblin. That's the only 3.
Green Goblin's not an action. Yeah. That's and Rocket's got the traps, but that's a slightly different thing. Right. Okay.
All right. Anyways, so man, I'm sorry. I gotta call it here, man. We're gonna stop this episode here. We're gonna continue this next week. We're gonna go ahead.
So we've gotten through the first page on the website.
First page.
So so we've got
next.
Yep. And do we count unaffiliated as an affiliation?
we haven't even done. Yeah. You know what? Let's count unaffiliated. So we got a long way to go. We got Punisher and we're sitting down. All sad down here by themselves. Anyways, all right, but I gotta go. Anyways, guys, I'm Chewy. This is Warhawk. Thanks for listening to the episode.
Anthony and Aaron, respectively. We'll get there. We are Omega Level Threat. Thank you for listening. We gotta get an intro and shit.
Yeah, we do. I know. We gotta get an intro. We gotta do all that. We'll take care of that soon. Anyways, guys, take care. Have a wonderful day. Bye.